flying was a blast, right? There's nothing quite like it. Getting to fly a jet. Now, I was an E2 pilot, so the only time I actually flew a jet was in my training command. But even that was a tremendous amount of fun. Landing on an aircraft carrier for the first time, you're circling overhead initially at about 10 or 15,000 feet, and you're looking at this thing. Looks about that. It's about that big. It's about that big, right?
And that's the big aircraft carriers.
In the water, you're like looking out the window. I'm supposed to land on that, and they eventually call you down. You cycle down the pattern. You go out. You come into the break. So anywhere between 250 and 400 miles an hour. You turn the airplane over, pull around, slow down, drop your gear, drop your flaps, come in, and hopefully land. It took me 3 times to successfully do that the first time. After you get the "oh wow, I'm finally at the ship" for the first time experience out. You're like, oh, this airplane still flies the way it did back on shore, and the environment's a little bit different, it's moving a little bit, but it's I can do this. And you go from this, how on earth am I going to do this, to this, wow, I just did this.
Wow.
It's a great experience. Only maybe to be rivaled by the first catapult shot, because they tell you about it, but until you feel that acceleration, you have no idea what's coming. The only thing comparable on land is like a funny car. That's about the only vehicle we have that will accelerate as fast as an aircraft.
Can you explain the shot, like what that actually means?
So, take your airplane. The aircraft carriers have 4 catapults on the Nimitz class, the older aircraft carriers. They are steam catapults. On the newest class, the Fort class, they are electromagnetic. EMALS, electromagnetic aircraft launch systems, so they're electromagnetic catapults. Either way, the feeling is pretty much the same. So you're taxiing around the flight deck, which can be a very busy, very dynamic environment when you can have up to 30 or 40 aircraft on there, and maybe 6 or 7 or 8 of them moving around at the same time, while 20 or 30 more maybe turning, right? And helicopters, and it's it's one of the most dangerous and dynamic work environments on the planet. And the sailors that are out there on the deck, the taxi directors, the people holding the chocks and chains, the people fueling the aircraft, they've
got a stressful job.
Talk about bravery, right? They would probably love to be shot at for relaxation, right? but to be out there day in, day out with the props, with the rotors, with the jet engines, and you're 100 feet above the water. It's a very dynamic and dangerous environment, and for the most part, they love it and they take tremendous pride in it, and they're good at it. And so, you're only peripherally aware of that dance. What you're aware of is your one taxi director who gives you signals. They line you up. They get you onto get you aligned with the catapult, and they tell you to put your launch bar down. Launch bar is attached to the airplane, and the shuttle will come up and engage your launch bar. So kind of like that. Actually, more like this. There we go. Kind of like that, right? When everybody's ready, they do what's called, they put you in attention. Again, slight differences for the different types of catapults, but they put you in tension. That means there is a little bit of power behind the catapult. You're now being held firmly against catapult, and it's ready to go. You wipe out your controls. You salute the shooter, the officer handling the who's actually going to direct launch button, or sometimes push launch button, and they do it. And your first time, at least for me, what I'm sitting there wondering is, how am I going to know if it's a good shot? Because if it's not a good shot, if you get what's called a cold cat, or if the launch bar spits out the shuttle or anything, you're not going to have enough, you may not have enough airspeed at the end of the runway of the ship, which is only, 150 feet or so, to actually take off. So in the trainer, so the very first time you do it in the trainer, you don't know what this feels like, but you're in an ejection aircraft. My fleet aircraft did not have ejection seats. Right? So you were either going to get, you're either going to go flying very slowly, or you're going to get wet. So you're sitting there, and in a jet, your throttle's in your left hand. So you're sitting there, you got the throttle all the way up, your engines are going as fast. So how will I know if it's a good shot? How will I know? Oh, okay, that's what it feels like. There's absolutely no doubt in your mind, right, that was a good catapult shot. And And that feeling is such a kick in the pants. It'll about stop your heart every time. And it's so cool. So fast forward, that was 1998. So fast forward 26 years. Actually, almost 27 years. Just a few months ago, I had the privilege of going aboard USS Gerald Ford, the most recently commissioned aircraft, so the newest one that's actually in the fleet.
Oh, wow.
She has EMALS, and I was got to go on to get some training and to lead some services, and I was coming off. I was going to ride the cod off. Now, the cod is the C2 ground carrier on board delivery. It's how we get passengers and stuff on and off.
What's it called? The fly, like the wire, or the little plane?
No, the
little heli.
No, the cod. Oh, you're thinking of the MV-22. Oh. That's eventually supposed to replace the cod. That's a different thing. No, this is a big fat twin-engine turboprop with a cargo hold. It's very much like the Hawkeye that I flew, except instead of having a small tube with a bunch of radar in it and a radar dome on top, it's a big cargo hold.
Right.
Okay. So this one was rigged for passengers, and the people I was flying with were a bunch of F-18 Hornet and Super Hornet pilots.
Oh, wow.
And they had just come out to do training or lead training for new Super Hornet pilots. So these were hardcore jet guys and gals.
Top Gun
and they were
guys.
Some of them actually were Top Gun.
Oh, wow.
And they were really rock solid and typical jet jocks, right? But now they're having to take a carrier shot as a passenger backwards.
Right. Right.
Because the seats are facing the rear. And so and I've done this a bunch of times. We're sitting there, and boom, it feels like the back of the airplane is rushing forward to meet you. It's like the closest thing I can give an analogy to is going into warp speed. From like the way Star Trek or Star Wars does it, right? It looks like the ramp of the airplane's coming up to meet you that fast. And then, you go second half, 2 seconds, and you're off and you're flying, and so you're no longer accelerating at that rate. So you go back in your seat, and they're all looking around like, woohoo, high-fiving each other, high-fiving the 50-year-old chaplain. They just thought it was the greatest. So those guys and gals who do it all the time and are used to being in the front seat, flying the airplane of a very fast tactical fighter jet, fourth generation fighter jet, they were fired up about getting the shot. So a catapult shot, it about stops your heart every time. It's one of the most exciting things I've ever done.
Do you think you could get me a media pass to have a go at it?
Alf is pretty influential. You never know.
That's true.
If Jimmy Buffett got to fly an F-14, we might be able to get you to ride in a cod.
Just a catapult shot. That's all I need.
I highly recommend. If you can ever get one, if you know somebody and you can get a catapult shot, do it. Right? Absolutely do it.
Email your congressman.